Hello everyone, Dr. Mandell here. If you're over the age of 60, your morning coffee can either support your heart, brain, and joints, or it can silently stress your adrenal glands, raise inflammation, weaken your bones, and drain your energy throughout the day. Today I'm going to share 4 of the worst coffees you should avoid immediately, and 4 of the best coffees that can improve circulation, boost mental clarity, protect your cells, and help you feel years younger. Stay with me to the end, because the last coffee on the best list is one most seniors never consider, yet it is scientifically shown to help lower inflammation, protect DNA, and stabilize blood sugar. Let's get started. Most people over 60 begin their morning with a familiar ritual, a steaming cup of coffee that promises comfort, alertness, and routine. But hidden inside many of the dark roast commercial coffees sold in supermarkets and served in chain cafes is a silent threat, one that slowly chips away at your cells, your arteries, your digestion, and your long-term vitality. And most people have no idea it's happening, because the truth is this: when coffee beans are roasted too long and at excessively high temperatures, they form compounds. The human body was never meant to consume daily, let alone for decades. One of those compounds is known as PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, chemicals that form during the burning and charring of organic matter. These substances are the same category of toxins found in burnt meats, cigarette smoke, and industrial pollution. Scientists around the world classify certain PAHs as carcinogenic or potentially carcinogenic because of their ability to damage DNA, weaken the immune system, and accelerate cellular aging. And yet, they appear in high levels in overly dark roasted, burned coffee beans, the very beans millions of older adults drink every single morning. As we age, our body's natural antioxidant defenses decline. The enzymes that once neutralized free radicals begin to slow. Mitochondria, the tiny power plants of your cells, lose efficiency. This means toxins and oxidative stress hit harder after 60 than they do at 30. When you drink burnt dark roast coffee, you're flooding a system that's already fighting against time with additional oxidative load. You may feel just a slight tightness in your chest, or a mild jitter, or a subtle heaviness in your stomach. You might chalk it up to aging, stress, or just getting older. But what if it's actually the burnt compounds in your coffee damaging the delicate endothelial lining inside your blood vessels, the very lining responsible for producing nitric oxide, the molecule that keeps arteries relaxed, flexible, and youthful? Research suggests oxidative stress is one of the most powerful accelerators of arterial stiffness, the kind of stiffness linked to high blood pressure, poor circulation, cold hands and feet, and even memory decline. Every sip of burnt coffee forces your body to work harder than it should. It demands more antioxidants from your diet. It forces your liver to push through an extra detox burden. And if your diet isn't rich in fruits, vegetables, or polyphenols, your body ends up in a constant state of deficit, where damage accumulates silently over time. And that isn't the only problem. Dark, over-roasted coffee is tougher on the digestive tract. The intense roasting process destroys many of the natural antioxidants and beneficial compounds found in the original green bean and replaces them with acidic byproducts and bitter oils that irritate the stomach lining. People over 60 are especially vulnerable because stomach acid naturally decreases with age. When you combine low stomach acid with high acidity burnt coffee, the result can be bloating, reflux, indigestion, or a tightening sensation beneath the chest. Many seniors start medications for heartburn or acid reflux without realizing the real culprit may be their coffee roast. But the story goes deeper. When beans are roasted beyond a certain point, they lose chlorogenic acids, natural compounds shown in studies to reduce inflammation, stabilize blood sugar, protect the brain, and support heart health. Medium roasts tend to keep much of these beneficial compounds intact. But burnt dark roasts, much of it is destroyed, leaving behind a beverage that tastes bold, but has lost its healing potential. And that boldness isn't flavor, it's degradation. Think about the difference between perfectly toasted bread and burnt toast. One nourishes, the other contains acrylamide, an inflammatory compound created through burning. Coffee works the same way. When coffee beans are scorched, acrylamide levels increase, and those levels matter because acrylamide is a compound linked in studies to nerve damage and increased inflammation markers in the body. For someone over 60 whose nerves, joints, and muscles already experience natural age-related stress, inflaming the system every morning is like adding 20 extra pounds on your back every time you take a step. You can still move, but everything feels heavier. And then there's the heart. Many adults over 60 struggle with adrenal fatigue, irregular heartbeat sensations, or unstable energy. Dark roast commercial coffees often contain higher levels of caffeine breakdown byproducts that make the heart work harder. Not because the caffeine is the problem, but because the roasting process strips away the compounds that help balance caffeine's effects. The natural magnesium and antioxidant buffers found in lighter roasts don't survive the excessive heat, so you're left with a harsher version of coffee, one that spikes stress hormones, forces the heart to beat faster, and leaves you with that roller coaster energy crash mid-morning. Commercial brands also tend to use lower quality beans, often beans that have defects, mold exposure, or inferior flavor. Companies roast them extremely dark to mask imperfections. That means what you're tasting isn't richness. It's carbonization, it's burning, it's covering up what was poor quality to begin with. And for the consumer, especially an older adult more sensitive to physiological stress, the result is inflammation disguised as boldness. But here's the most startling part. Many seniors blame themselves for fatigue, low morning energy, foggy thinking, joint stiffness, digestive discomfort, or midday crashes, when the real trigger may simply be the wrong kind of coffee. Roast matters, source matters, quality matters, and the human body, especially after 60, can feel the difference almost immediately. Imagine waking up tomorrow, drinking a clean medium roast coffee instead, one that still contains its natural antioxidants, its polyphenols, its chlorogenic acids, one that supports your liver rather than overwhelms it, energizes your brain instead of dehydrating it, strengthens your arteries instead of aging them. Imagine a morning where your coffee gives you calm, balanced energy, not jitters, where your stomach feels comfortable, your heart feels steady, and your mind feels clearer. That's the difference quality makes. That's the difference roasting makes. And it's a difference that could change the way your body feels every single day. Burnt dark roast commercial coffee is not just a flavor choice, it's a biological stressor. And the moment you remove that stress, your body begins to heal, slowly, quietly, consistently, because your body isn't broken, it's overloaded. And choosing the right coffee can be one of the simplest, most powerful steps in taking that load off your system and giving your cells the chance to breathe again. For years, millions of people have been adding a small splash of something innocent looking into their morning coffee, believing it brings flavor, comfort, and a smoother start to the day. But the truth is far from comforting, because inside that tiny swirl of artificial creamer, powdered or liquid, lies a cocktail of chemicals that the human body was never built to metabolize. And for people over 60, whose metabolism and cellular regeneration naturally slow down with age, that cocktail becomes even more dangerous. What most people never realize is that artificial creamers aren't cream at all. There's no milk, no natural fats, no real nourishment. Instead, they're a blend of hydrogenated oils, corn syrup solids, artificial sweeteners, stabilizers, emulsifiers, and synthetic flavors engineered to trick the tongue while silently burdening the body. Many creamers contain partially hydrogenated oils, a source of industrial trans fats. These fats were once used in everything from margarine to deep-fried foods before researchers discovered their alarming effects on the human body. Trans fats don't just raise LDL cholesterol, they create what scientists call endothelial dysfunction, a weakening of the thin inner lining of the arteries that protects the cardiovascular system. And when that lining becomes inflamed, blood flow stiffens, pressure rises, the heart works harder, and the risk of clotting increases. Even small daily amounts matter. A spoonful in your coffee, repeated morning after morning, compounds quietly over time. And for a person over 60, where arteries naturally lose some flexibility, that daily inflammatory spark pushes the cardiovascular system closer to danger. But the story doesn't stop with trans fats. Most artificial creamers rely on corn syrup solids, a highly processed carbohydrate that spikes blood sugar rapidly. It behaves like pure glucose entering the bloodstream, hitting the system with a fast punch. A study from recent years shows that sudden glucose spikes trigger inflammatory cytokines within just an hour of consumption. For older adults, whose insulin sensitivity often decreases with age, these repeated spikes contribute not only to fatigue and brain fog, but also to long-term metabolic strain. Many seniors notice midday crashes, cravings, or a trembling kind of tiredness without understanding the morning creamer may be the hidden driver. And then there's maltodextrin, another common ingredient listed innocently, but carrying a high glycemic index, even higher than table sugar. The gut feels this one too. Maltodextrin has been shown in research to disrupt the gut microbiome, suppressing beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus while encouraging harmful strains to thrive. After 60, when gut diversity naturally declines, this disruption can worsen digestion, weaken immune defense, and even influence mood through the gut-brain axis. Yet people pour it into their coffee unaware of the microscopic battle happening inside them. Artificial flavors and colors add another layer of risk. These chemicals are classified as generally recognized as safe, but that phrase hides a deeper truth. Many of these substances have never been tested long-term, especially in older adults. Some contain solvents used in the manufacturing process. Others contain petroleum-derived compounds that the liver must process and filter. The liver, already working harder with age, faces an unnecessary burden from these additives. For someone over 60, maintaining liver health is crucial for detoxification, hormone balance, and energy. Yet every morning the liver is forced to deal with synthetic molecules that offer no nutritional benefit and create additional metabolic work. And perhaps the most unsettling ingredient of all is the one many overlook: caseinate, a milk-derived protein chemically altered so it can behave like cream but last for months without refrigeration. For individuals sensitive to dairy proteins, especially hidden ones, caseinate can trigger inflammation, joint stiffness, sinus congestion, digestive irritation, and immune responses. Many older adults with arthritis or chronic inflammation notice flare-ups after certain foods, but never suspect they're coffee additive. Yet the body reacts to these modified proteins as foreign irritants, setting off the inflammatory cascade. What makes this problem so insidious is how subtle the symptoms can be. You don't drink artificial creamer and suddenly fall ill. Instead, you feel a little more tired, a little heavier, a little more bloated. Blood pressure inches upward. Cholesterol shifts. Brain fog becomes more common. The gut becomes more sensitive. Joints feel inflamed in the morning. The energy you once had starts slipping away quietly. People begin to blame age. But what if age is only part of the story? What if the real issue is that your body is doing battle every single morning with something that should never have been placed in your coffee cup to begin with? Look closely at powdered creamers, the ones that last months on the shelf. They contain anti-caking agents, stabilizers, and preservatives that keep them from clumping. But these substances don't magically dissolve into the body harmlessly. Some create digestive discomfort. Others feed harmful gut bacteria. And because powdered creamers are ultra-processed, they bypass natural satiety signals, offering sweet flavor without nutrients, encouraging the brain to crave more sugar later in the day. This cycle wears down metabolic resilience. After 60, your mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells, need more support, not more artificial burden. Liquid creamers are no better. Many contain gums that thicken the texture: carrageenan, gellan gum, or cellulose. Carrageenan in particular has been shown in animal studies to trigger inflammatory pathways and gut irritation. Older adults with sensitive stomachs may find their digestion becoming unpredictable without realizing it's connected to their creamer. For decades, marketing has disguised these products as harmless conveniences, pretty bottles with flavors like vanilla, hazelnut, caramel, or sweet cream. But beneath the flavor lies an engineered mixture that slowly chips away at metabolic balance, cardiovascular integrity, digestive comfort, and cognitive clarity. Imagine a person over 60 starting their morning believing they're doing something simple and enjoyable, when in reality, they're pouring inflammation directly into their bloodstream. It's not their fault. They were never told the truth. But here's the empowering part. The moment artificial creamers are removed, the body begins to respond quickly. Within days, inflammation markers drop. Digestion feels smoother. Energy stabilizes. Blood sugar becomes more predictable. Many people report clearer thinking, better sleep, reduced joint stiffness, and more consistent heart rhythms simply from eliminating these ingredients. Because the body is always trying to heal, it just needs the chance. Replacing artificial creamer with something real, even something simple, gives your cells relief. A splash of unsweetened almond milk, oat milk, or a teaspoon of grass-fed cream allows the body to process what it recognizes, not fight what it doesn't. Your arteries feel the difference. Your gut feels the difference. Your brain feels the difference. and the morning ritual you've always enjoyed becomes a source of nourishment instead of silent stress. Artificial creamers promise sweetness, but deliver inflammation. They promise flavor, but burden the metabolism. They promise convenience, but cost long-term vitality. And for those over 60, every choice counts, every ingredient matters, and the smallest swap can be the turning point between a body weighed down and a body finally breathing again. Every day, millions of people begin their morning with a coffee that tastes more like a dessert than a drink. Caramel swirl, mocha blast, pumpkin spice, hazelnut dream. These syrups smell nostalgic, comforting, like a warm embrace from a memory you can't quite place. But what's hiding inside these flavored coffees is far from comforting, because behind that delicious aroma lies a biochemical storm, a surge of sugar, artificial flavors, and metabolic disruptors that work against the human body in ways most people never imagine. And for adults over 60, the danger multiplies with every sip. Inside a single flavored syrup coffee, there can be 30, 40, even 50 grams of sugar, more than what the American Heart Association recommends for an entire day. The moment that sugar hits your bloodstream, your body sends out a powerful insulin surge to control the rising glucose. At 20 or 30, your cells respond quickly, but after 60, insulin sensitivity drops, muscle mass decreases, and your cells don't pull sugar out of your blood the way they used to. So what happens? The glucose lingers, it circulates, it binds to proteins, it forms what scientists call advanced glycation end products, compounds known to stiffen arteries, inflame tissues, accelerate aging of the skin, and damage fragile cells in the brain. This process is silent, invisible, and deeply destructive, and it can be triggered by something as simple as a flavored caramel latte. Most seniors don't realize that every sugary coffee spike is followed by a crash, the kind that brings fatigue, trembling, irritability, or a foggy heaviness that settles over the mind. On the outside, it feels like aging. On the inside, it's an inflammatory wave moving through the bloodstream. Research shows that high sugar intake can increase inflammatory markers within just a few hours. This inflammation doesn't just affect joints or digestion, it affects the brain. Repeated sugar spikes interfere with memory formation, disrupt neurotransmitters, and trigger oxidative stress in neurons. Over time, this contributes to the kind of cognitive decline many older adults fear most. Yet the flavored syrup coffee industry never talks about this. The glossy advertisements show whipped cream, cinnamon dust, and smiling faces, but never the metabolic damage brewing beneath the surface. But sugar is only part of the story. The artificial flavors inside these syrups are created using chemical solvents, synthetic esters, and compounds designed to mimic natural taste. Some are derived from petroleum. Others contain propylene glycol or artificial dyes banned in several countries but quietly allowed in certain beverages. For the liver, these chemicals become an additional workload, and at 60, the liver's detoxification pathways slow down. Phase 1 and Phase 2 detox systems don't function with the same efficiency they once did. Every artificial flavor you consume must be broken down, processed, neutralized, and excreted, placing strain on an organ that is already managing decades of accumulated toxins. It may start subtly, sluggish mornings, headaches, irritability, but deep inside, liver cells are working overtime for a flavor that never offered any nourishment to begin with. Then there's the hidden ingredient almost no one talks about, emulsifiers. These chemicals help syrups blend smoothly with coffee, but have been shown in research to disrupt the gut lining. When the gut lining becomes irritated, a condition known as increased intestinal permeability can occur. This allows inflammatory particles to leak into the bloodstream, triggering immune responses that affect everything from mood to energy to joint comfort. Many seniors complain about new digestive sensitivities, gas, bloating, or unpredictable digestion without ever suspecting that their flavored morning coffee might be the cause. But the gut is the foundation of the immune system, and every artificial additive is another spark of inflammation. Flavored coffees also trick the brain's reward system. They hit the tongue with powerful sweetness, but without real nutrients, causing dopamine spikes that mimic addictive patterns. Over time, this rewires cravings. Instead of wanting something nourishing, the brain begins craving more sweetness, more syrups, more artificial flavors. It becomes a cycle, one that drains energy and increases risk for type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, and weight gain, especially around the abdomen. And abdominal fat isn't just cosmetic, it's biologically active, releasing inflammatory cytokines that accelerate aging throughout the entire body. But perhaps the most dangerous effect of flavored coffees is the one most people never consider: the silent burden they place on the cardiovascular system. When sugar and artificial additives move through the bloodstream, they damage the endothelial cells lining the arteries. These cells produce nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for keeping blood vessels flexible and open. But when they're inflamed, nitric oxide production drops, arteries stiffen, blood pressure rises, circulation weakens, hands and feet grow colder, and the heart begins working harder than it should for a simple task: pumping blood. For someone over 60, who may already have age-related vascular changes, this added stress becomes a serious risk. Imagine this: a flavored syrup coffee that takes just minutes to drink can cause metabolic changes that last hours, and vascular changes that accumulate for years. A brief moment of sweetness can become a slow erosion of health. Yet inside every cafe, people order these drinks believing they're just harmless treats. But the body doesn't experience them as treats. It experiences them as biochemical stress events. And over time, that stress reshapes the way the body ages. Many older adults describe feeling tired after their morning coffee, not realizing the fatigue is not the coffee, it's the sugar crash. They describe joint aches, not realizing inflammation is tied to blood sugar instability. They describe forgetfulness, not realizing the constant glucose surges are affecting brain cells. They describe digestive discomfort, not realizing emulsifiers and artificial flavors are disrupting their gut lining. They describe gaining weight around the waist, not realizing flavored coffees often contain more calories than a donut. But the moment you remove flavored syrups from your life, the body begins to respond with remarkable speed. The first thing many people notice is clarity. The fog begins to lift. Blood sugar becomes more stable. Energy levels smooth out. Cravings decrease. Digestion calms. Sleep improves. Joint pain softens, and the heart feels lighter, more at ease, because the body knows how to heal. It simply needs relief from the daily chemical storm. Choosing real coffee, clean, simple, unflavored, gives your system space to breathe again. Adding cinnamon instead of syrup can support blood sugar rather than spike it. Adding pure vanilla extract instead of artificial flavor stabilizes cravings instead of fueling them. And drinking coffee the way nature intended allows the body to work with you, not against you. Flavored syrup coffees promise pleasure, but deliver inflammation. They promise energy, but steal it hours later. They promise comfort, but create long-term metabolic harm. And after 60, every choice becomes a message you send to your future self. One message accelerates aging, the other slows it down. And the difference can be as simple as the syrup at the bottom of your cup.